The long-standing Ontario Old Hickory butcher knife, after decades, just got an upgrade. So that's right, folks. We're looking today at the Ontario Knife Company Old Hickory Series hunting knife. Now, this is a new twist and a new take on a classic design. The Old Hickory series was introduced in 1924. So these are almost a century old in their design and materials, and they really haven't changed in that whole time frame. But what people have been doing for years, even though this series was designed as kitchen knives and butcher knives to go in your butcher block around the home, people have been taking them out, particularly their 7-inch butcher knife, out into the backcountry and using it as a bushcraft or woodscraft knife and doing some modifications, maybe doing a custom sheath and just having some fun with them. Well, Ontario's heard about that and heard some of the feedback that, hey, if you guys released like a shorter version with a leather sheath or something, that would be awesome and be a great budget-friendly, woods knife. And so they took that feedback and they have now released their Old Hickory 5.5-inch hunting / butcher knife, put a little clip swedge on there on the top, and released it with a little leather sheath. So that's what we're going to be looking at today, and I'm excited to just break down the whole application and see whether or not basically carrying a compact butcher knife on your hip is a good choice for a woodscraft bushcraft blade. So guys, it's always a ton of fun when I get my hands on these budget-friendly blades that can perform. They definitely have a level of performance, and it was fun taking a butcher knife basically out into the outdoors and did everything, guys. Beat on this thing like crazy, from outdoors tasks, batoning, side splitting, stabbing it in logs and side, prying on it and doing pull cuts and feather sticks. I mean, it was a lot of fun doing all that. But then you're just taking it in the house and putting it in the butcher block for about a month and just doing meat and doing veggies and, preparing stir fry and doing whatever it is and doing more, food prep, cooking type of tasks with it to see how it could perform in either way, either in your butcher block or on your belt for a day hike or a bushcrafting expedition. So I will hit this sheath real quick. It is awesome now that it does come with that. It's a very basic sheath though, not bad quality, just simple. Leather, stitched, little drainage hole right there. Good size belt loop, good stitching, little polymer insert. And it just sits in there nicely, rides flush, silent, hold it upside down, it's not gonna fall out. So retention is decent. Obviously you could like wet that thing, kind of mold it. We are seeing a little bit of fraying right there. I mean, remember, if I can't remember, it's been so long since I filmed this, the first part of it, but we're looking at a price point of about 20 bucks, so I mean, what do you expect, right? So a USA made high carbon blade, and then the sheath, to boot, that's a pretty good deal, even if there's a little bit of fraying on there. Now for the knife itself, again, USA made, high carbon steel, 1095, Rockwell 53 to 58. So there's a major differentiation in there, and this is a very flexible blade. Let's see here, I'm putting pressure on it, it's bending, but it's snapping right back into place. It doesn't bend, because it's so soft. So, and it has a flat grind on it. It's got that little clip shape there. Then we got these flats with that Ontario USA made, cut in there, stamped in there. And the really cool thing is that this guy is going to be 0.08 inches thick. I mean, this is a thin blade. I have pocket knives that are thicker than this with that little swedge there. So it's very easy to slice, regardless if it's the meat and other things that you would be putting it through and or just outdoor carving and whittling and those type of things. I mean, the thinness of the blade really accelerates cuts regardless of what type of material you're cutting through. And with a blade length of 5.5 inches, I think it's a great size. It's not this ginormous knife, but it's not this little tiny compact carver either. It's a good mid-weight right there. And then the weight of the knife itself is going to be 4.6 ounces, and I believe that might be with the sheath. I can't remember off the top of my head, but again, that's the weight of a pocket knife, so very lightweight in that regard. So no coating on there. You could do like a apple vinegar stain on it or something like that just to help kind of combat rust. You're seeing a little bit there, and I live in a pretty low humidity environment. But the blade shape itself performed in every way really well. The only thing that it did not do great in because of how thin it is batoning. So if you're going to split wood for kindling, it'll do it, but you got to really pound on it. to get it through the wood just because of how thin the knife is. And there would be better options either using a hatchet or just a slightly thicker blade. Even an 1/8 of an inch thick blade won't get stuck, and you won't have to like hammer on it as hard as this knife is just because of the thinness of the blade. Now onto the handle. Again, they're Old Hickory, pinned in, and it's got wood. I don't have what type of wood it is, it just says wood. It's holding up well. I've taken it outdoors, I've left it on the ground, you know, had different types of water, lots of water on it, you know, with cooking and those type of things, and it's holding up decently. Again, for $20, can't really complain. You're looking at 4.5 inches overall length, and then you're looking at a thickness of 0.36, nice contoured, rounded. Feels really good in my large size hands. Got plenty of room to spare there. So that's all great. You got a little guard right there, so you're not going to just accidentally slide up right away. No jimping, obviously, or anything like that. It is a butcher knife. So ergonomically, you can't complain. It's basically like a broom handle design, which is perfect for, regardless if it's food prep and processing food, or bushcraft tasks, carving, reverse cuts, notching, whittling, you know, long extended cutting tasks. The handle is really set up well for that. No lanyard hole. It weighs as much as a pocket knife. You're not going to be doing any type of chopping or anything like that. It's not designed for that. Now, this is the one critique for the whole design that is just kind of a little bit of a downer and definitely holds it back for me on one aspect, is after I did the harder batoning and side splitting that you saw and are seeing even now as I'm rolling in the footage, the handle loosened up, and it's rattling now, and you can shift it slightly you can feel it shifting in your hand when you're cutting now. I tried pounding on the pins, that didn't like reseat it or anything like that. So it has a slightly loose handle, and I mean, I was really thumping on it. So if you don't do really hard batoning with it and you're just using a belt knife to actually cut and do what you're supposed to be doing with a knife, you shouldn't really have any issues. It should be fine. But that was a little disappointing that it wasn't strong enough or pinned in well enough, and that may just be my model. Maybe you may beat on yours for 10 years and you're like, dude, mine's never loosened up. So I would have liked to have it be nice and tight, or if it had screws, you know, you could tighten it down if it did loosen up. As it is, it's still fully functional. I could even easily wrap some like electrical tape or hockey tape or, you know, tennis racket tape around it. Would never know, but then it would kind of take away a little bit from the just nostalgia and just kind of cool looking retro, whatever you want to call it, design of the knife. But that would keep it, you know, fully functional for years and years to come. And again, as I said, about 20 bucks. I'll have links for you guys below. They're not fully available yet. I picked one off of Blade HQ for 20 bucks and they were sold out almost immediately, and I haven't seen it come back yet. I'll throw it up on Amazon if they're there. Just look around, but you know, $20, USA made, $10.95, leather sheath. Here is the K-Bar BK62. Very similar looking knife in the sense of just kind of like wood handle, you know, no coating, leather sheath. Now, everything about the Becker is obviously higher quality. You're getting a Crovan steel. It's a thicker overall stock. You're getting even more rounding and ergonomics. You can unscrew the handle and, you know, adjust if it was ever to loosen up. The sheath is a much higher quality sheath, but they are about the same, you know, performers, belt knives. I mean, that's what they're designed to be. And the K-Bar is going to be like $100 to $120. So for literally about $100 more, you're getting a knife that's very similar. And, you know, if you want to give the Ontario a shot, you can compete with knives, you know, that are $100 more, $200 more sometimes, just because of the simplicity. Simplicity often wins out. And if you're willing to either wrap the handle and that's not a big deal to you, or, you know, you already have one that the pins haven't loosened up and, you know, you're willing to give it a shot for 20 bucks, I think that on that level, this Ontario is pretty sweet. But for me, guys, it's not something that I'm now going to throw on my belt regularly and use all the time, for the two factors mainly that I touched on. The fact that the thinness of the blade does have some limitations in doing kindling, and I do baton, you know, wood for kindling often, particularly in the wintertime, which it is right now when I'm filming this, but also just that loosening up of the handles, and, you know, I can feel them shifting in there, and it's just, I got so many other options. For 20 bucks, I'm going to go with like a Mora or something like that before I would go with this blade, just for some of those aspects I've touched on. But if the design connects with you, or you've always had one in the butcher block and now you'd like to take it with you, you know, camping, hiking, you know, doing that type of stuff would be great. And I love the Sheath because now I can take this with me when we go for a picnic, when we go camping, and I can just use this as like the kitchen knife, and I can throw it on my belt, and I'm not having to try and figure out where am I going to store it. And I can use my bushcraft knife for all the woods-based stuff, and then use this for all the cooking stuff. So still has a place in my butcher block and will for, I'm sure, decades to come. And now you do have an option with the leather sheath right from the factory. So guys, thanks so much for checking this video out. Look forward to hearing any comments that you guys have, questions, throw those in the comments below. I invite you to subscribe, become part of the GT family, watch the other video popping up, check us out on all the social media, and finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.